Hey, ladies and gentlemen, grunts and pogues, this is Warbag, and welcome to another episode of Talking Guns. So this one specifically for the machine gun leaders, all right, for you guys that are out there section leading, squad leading, and doing all that fucking cool shit that you do out on the range, and for the infantry unit leaders that don't have this reference anymore to guide with. I give you how to run the firing tables for machine guns on machine gun ranges for qualification, transition shoots, and for limited visibility sites. You will want this, maybe need this, and if you want to justify your ammo allotment, you will definitely want the fuck out of this, all right? So if you want like 66,000 rounds and shit, this is going to be your thing, all right? The beer of the night is the Looker. It is a blonde ale that is 5.0% alcohol by volume, bright, floral, and citrusy. So it advertises our version of some bullshit, whatever. I don't give a fuck. All right. I've already been drinking, and I'm going to keep doing that. So, yeah. Those of you who've enjoyed Talking Guns thus far and stuff and have not yet liked the post or subscribe to the page or otherwise freaking turned on the notification bell, please do that. As Bridget Fedesi likes to say, touch my bells and buttons. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Touch it. Touch it. Yeah. All right. Oh, man, that is a tasty beer. All this information is coming from freaking an Army field manual. There's one thing, or maybe a couple of things, the Army does better. I mean, probably just one thing. And it's fucking putting shit into publications. All right, so when the Army does shit, they like to do everything procedurally and freaking put things down on paper and submit it for approval up the chain and stuff like that to who the fuck ever and blah, blah, blah. So one thing that they were able to do right on this one is be very specific on how to run this machine gun range using this field manual. The Marine Corps likes to be a lot more flexible with things, and they'll put things into the training readiness manual, basically being the freaking tasks that you have to hit for individual training standards and whatnot and stuff. And then when it comes down to your mission essential task list and everything, you'll freaking buff things out and do additional training based off of that. That is not necessarily doctrinal or freaking things that are coming out of other manuals and stuff like that, freaking that aren't doctrinal publications. What we have here in the Marine Corps is this motivated thing and shit we call the Machine Gun Bible. Ow. Like I said, I've been drinking a little bit. All right. Fucking sue me. All right, so the Machine Gun Bible and shit, 3TAC 15.1, machine guns and machine gun gunnery, or freaking 3-01 Charlie, machine guns and machine gun gunnery, however, freaking whatever generation you're in and stuff like that wants to use the nomenclature for it. You can find it on the Marine Corps Publications electronic library, and for this field manual, you can find it anywhere if you just, search up the reference on Google. So none of the things that I'm saying are in any way freaking giving away the secrets of the keys to the kingdom, and nobody gives a fuck about ground combat anyway. So there it is. If you want to be a rock star on setting up a machine gun range, this is the episode for you. Boom. And with that, let's go ahead and get in the slides. As I take a sip on my fucking douche flute. All right. So, here on the slides, this might look familiar. There's your basic machine gun target. And with your basic machine gun target, you have Pastors Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta, these sets, all right? And how it breaks up basically is Alpha is for your initial freaking familiarization and freaking 0. Bravo is for confirming your 0 and then going through your practice. And then Charlie will be for your qualification. Delta is for your remediation. You can find this through your supply chain. And if you want, I mean, I'll fucking put the NSN down there in the what you call it in the freaking comments section and stuff like that, or you can just ask me for it and I'll freaking send it to you. But the NSN for this thing is 6920 TAC 00 TAC 7078 TAC 5123. And again, that is 6920 TAC 00 TAC 078 TAC 5123 for this document, this official, super official fucking document. So there you go. It's a good thing I got my iPad with me. That's a fun thing to have. So the other thing that you're going to need along with this is this. Nuggets. This motivated multi-purpose range. So check this out. Freaking, it starts off with 5 positions down at the very bottom and shit like that. These are dug in freaking defensive positions and shit that are makeshift. Makeshift fighting positions, freaking pretty much built out of wood or concrete and stuff. You can find something like this at SR8 in the San Diego Run area over there on freaking Camp Lejeune, or freaking Lima 5 has essentially the same motherfucking thing. There's several ranges on Camp Pendleton that can facilitate the same type of fucking training and shit like that. What you need is 100 meters of width at the firing line, and then you can place your machine gunners on the bipod on the ground or freaking laying behind the tripod on the ground and stuff like that, on flanking the actual position on the left or the right hand side, and fit pretty much 10 gunners at a time on there to do these transition shoots. All right. Then in depth, it goes out to 1,000 meters. Beyond 800 meters, you can't really use freaking iron sights anymore. They recommend that you use a freaking machine gun optic like the MDO, machine gun day optic and stuff like that, or the freaking, or for the heavy machine guns, it's a whole different freaking optic that you can use, made by Leica and shit, and it's pretty fucking cool. But anyway, at the very end of the range, stuff like that, at a distance of 1,000 meters, each lane of the 5 lanes assigned to those freaking fighting positions that are dug in are 100 meters wide. So at the end of this freaking big old fan, a total width of 500 meters. So if you ever wanted to build it, it's going to look like this. All right. And the reference, like I said, is right below me here, FM freaking 3-22.68. Boom. That's for, light and medium machine guns and shit. So that's how it's done. There you go. And so the next thing, all right, getting back to this is what your basic 10-meter freaking practice and pre-qualification is going to look like, starting off with freaking single individual rounds. All right. Oh yeah, check it out. I want to orient you real quick onto my really cool cursor that I made today. Watch it move around, and then it's going to stop right there. Look at that fucker. Looks like a 240 symbol. How cool is that? I made that. I made that today. What a nerd. God, what a nerd. Anyway. All right, so task number 1 being your freaking actual 0 onto a 10-meter target. You're going to preset your sights to 500 meters for your freaking 240s. So we're going to just run specifically for 240s because 249s are pretty much obsolete right now and nobody uses a fucking M60 anymore. This publication was, it came out in 2003, and a lot of the documents that are behind it and stuff like that, as far as whatever, are dated for freaking 2002. Like October 2002 is when they made the SF 80 whatever the fucking shit like that for like the machine gun scorecard, which we'll get into a little bit later when we start looking at scorecards. But it goes like this. Yeah. So here's your calling card. Right. So here's your task. Right, without a time limit and stuff like that. Task 1, freaking with individual rounds, 12 rounds. So just break off a belt of fucking 30, pull off 18 for the next task and shit like that, and then freaking you have 12 left. De-link every single one of those rounds individually and fucking suicide those motherfuckers into the goddamn machine gun. No, not suicide load. Put them, condition 3, onto the feed tray, and then close the cover. And then allow the gunner to put that motherfucker in condition 1 after that. But anyway, you're going to be firing into pasters Alpha 1 and Alpha 2 with these 12 single rounds, one at a time. You're going to be conducting a 0. So that means in paster Alpha 1, because I have this little shadow come up, I'm going to go ahead and just show this on Tombstone's Charlie, since it looks exactly the same. I'm going to fire 1 round. Pop. Right? Either from the bipod or the freaking tripod. You can do both. You can do bipod first and then do tripod, or you can tripod first and then do bipod, because it's considerably less stable position and shit and what the fuck ever. But you can test your gunner's proficiency on both of these, and you can justify that you need to do both and double the amount of rounds that you get from your gunner or from, supply, and that'll be cool. Yeah. Anyway, one round at a time. Pop, freaking load a new round onto the belt and shit like that. Gain your sight, picture, sound alignment. Freaking another round until you freaking made your first little triangulable freaking grouping and stuff. So your groupings, they're gonna be kind of like this, right? Not that big or anything like that, but kind of like this. You don't want a fucking big fat grouping like this. What you want to have is a very tight grouping, less than 4 centimeters in height and width. All right, so freaking think about it like this. All right, 4 centimeters is like the kind of like the doctrinal freaking thing for how much play you ought to have into it when you're aiming on that freaking tiny little fucking square in the center, right? Tombstones that have squares, you get to aim at them. Tombstones that don't have squares, you don't get to aim at them. You get to just adjust fire. All right. Let's look back at that. Notice that we have several tombstones here. Every one of these tombstones has a square in it. These tombstones have squares in them, but the ones in the middle are not. This is the adjustment of fire piece. This is where we get into freaking the machine gun fundamentals and stuff like that of, machine gun fire, but we're not going to skip ahead just yet. All right, so keep it within 4 centimeters and stuff like that, and then adjust that grouping into the thing. If they can't keep a tight grouping, correct them on the very next grouping and stuff, because they only have 12 rounds. That means they've only got 4 chances to fire a set of 3 individual rounds to get a grouping of less than 4 centimeters and shit like that, and adjust that grouping onto the center of the freaking tombstone. All right, so let's go back to this one. Don't do that. So to this one. All right, you can do an overlay. I would recommend printing off on transparent freaking papers and shit like that, like acetate or whatever like that, a fucking centimetered grid square, so that you can make speedy and accurate adjustments based off of freaking centimeters. Every freaking square is 1 centimeter and shit like that, and freaking every adjustment goes off of whatever. And I'm going to go ahead and when I get later into this, I'm going to talk about what adjustments for the sights that you need to be making and all that fucking cool happy horse shit. So there it is. All right, so your shot groups, you want them freaking directly onto the tombstone and blah, blah, blah. You want it to look like that, and that'd be cool. All right, so the next thing. As we're here on freaking target pacer alpha 1 and shit like that, we fire our first group, second group, third group, and everything. And the very last one on freaking pacer alpha 2, right there, we're going to go ahead and fire a confirmation freaking 3 rounds and stuff like that cleanly to make sure that we've got the entire fucking concept down. All right. Or if they torn up the entire target and it doesn't fucking look very good and shit like that, you can move them on to alpha 2. But that's basically it. So the task list here gives them all 12 of those rounds individually fired and shit like that into alpha 1 and alpha 2. So go ahead and freaking get that. Then you go into task number 2. And this is with a 7 to 9 round belt. So firing, well, not individually with 7 to 9 rounds, but with an 18 round belt, they're going to have these 2 chances to fire into each pacer. Pacer alpha 3, they can fire a 7 to 9 round burst. If they fuck that up, they got a good chance of getting the rest of those rounds into pacer alpha 4, but they should be able to time that 7 to 9 round burst by saying, I don't know, some funny little ditty. It might sound familiar to some of you guys and sound a little bit like Die Motherfucker Die or Run Fuzzy Bunny Run or some shit like that. Yeah. So there you go. All right. After that, we get into task 3. This is also still within the practice and stuff like that, and whatever and shit. All right. So we get into freaking task number 3, going from alpha 5 to alpha 6. This is where we start introducing freaking searching and traversing. So freaking being able to freaking search and traverse your fires and manipulate the T&E, or be able to freaking move your body position properly to engage freaking targets and re-engage your aim to that and just kind of like adjust your shit. All right. So again, with a 7 to 9 round burst and shit like that, with no time limit whatsoever, they're going to fire 18 total rounds into freaking Pacer's Alpha 5 through Alpha 6. The thing is this, if you're going to put a 7 to 9 round burst into each tombstone, you're only going to get 2 fucking bursts on the maximum and shit like that for these tombstones. This is pretty much a test to make sure that they know what the fuck they're doing. So die motherfucker die, die motherfucker die. That's all it has to be. Or if you're using a tripod, then it's going to be a die motherfucker die, down 3 over 2, die motherfucker die into the second one. So now you know if they've been able to freaking map out their adjustments or freaking make the adjustments of fire skillfully into the Pacers here with Alpha 5 through 6. All right, so when you get back over to it, again, all right, next task. Alpha 7 through Alpha 8 over here on task 4 and shit like that with another belt of 18 rounds, having only freaking a maximum freaking burst of 2 bursts. All right. And a Pacers Alpha 7 through Alpha 8. All right. They're going to freaking come on down here. I'm going to move over here and shit like this so it's a little bit easier to see. But Alpha 7 through Alpha 8, die motherfucker die. And then die motherfucker die yet again. Just to make sure they know which area that they're firing at. And they understand what the fuck is going on. So this is your pre-fire practice and all that kind of shit. We don't have a lot of rounds allotted for this freaking part and stuff like that, but it goes into the next task. Next task is task 5. Task 5, moving into freaking Pacers Bravo 1 and Bravo 2. So we're starting at the beginning yet again, single round zeros and shit like that. If you want to get your other gunner involved in this one to freaking try this fucking zero and get him fucking going in there, by all means, do this. Go the fuck ahead. But realistically, all he has to do is get that 12 round single round freaking zero and shit like that, refining his position, refining his ability to freaking get that aim and shit like that yet again into a whole new target set of fucking tombstones and move himself to make sure that he knows that he's firing at Bravo target set. And then again, task number 6 and shit like that, Pacers freaking Bravo 1 through Bravo 4. He's getting a total of 36 rounds. So he's going to fire, instead of firing freaking all these freaking bullshit-ass fucking bullshits into just 2 tombstones, he's going to hit all 4 of them. So starting at Bravo 1, fire a full fucking 9-round burst, 7 to 9 round burst into freaking Pacer, target Pacer Bravo 1. Then again on Bravo 2, adjust Bravo 3, adjust Bravo 4. All of these are fixed fire and aimed. All right. So that's pretty fucking simple. Yeah. All right. So next task. All right. And it goes directly into Bravo 7, Bravo 8. That way he doesn't have to freaking traverse all the way, or freaking doesn't have to search all the way down and then freaking back up again and shit like that. Just let him search down into 7 through 8 because, you know, look at how the target is formatted. This is 7 through 8 now instead of 5 through 6. 5 through 6 is now down here. So in task number 7 and shit like that with no time limit and a belt of 72 rounds. This is why. All right. You have 9 rounds. Yeah. Let me just do fucking math in my head real quick and shit like that. What's 9 times 8? Because 9 times 9 is 81. 9 times 8 is 72. Yeah. Yeah, it is. No fucking shit. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 fucking target Pacers between fucking Bravo 7 and Bravo motherfucking 8. All right. So there we go. That's what we got. All right. So 9 times 8 is 72. That's why you get 72 rounds. Bam. So you're just trying to get that friggin' appropriate burst between Bravo 7 and Bravo 8 friggin' into each tombstone and stuff like that and maintain good freaking shoulder pressure and stuff like that, good grip and fire discipline and stuff between tombstones. Cool, right? And then they're going to go into freaking task number 8, which is Pacers Bravo 5 through Bravo 6. They're with a total of 45 rounds using a 7 to 9 round burst. Guess how many freaking tombstones there are in 5 through 6? That's right. There is fucking 5 of them. That's right. Wahid. Ithnain, Thalatha, Arba, Khamsa. There we go. 5 of them. I don't speak Arabic. Anyway. at that, they should be already freaking trained enough and shit like that through all of this practice through the Alpha and Bravo pasters to go into where the asterisk denotes qualification tasks. Qualification tasks. This is where you start fucking grading them and shit, all right? And you can do this all the fucking way with bipod and tripod. And double the amount of rounds that they fucking get. It's pretty cool. But anyway. So, only working on freaking target pasters, motherfucking Charlie 5 through Charlie 6, and then Charlie 7 through Charlie 8. We're going to work on these. They're not going to do the individual firings and shit like that of everything else and stuff like that. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. All right? Fucking A. But, all together, these rounds and stuff like that with a fucking 7 to 9 round burst and shit like that are gradable. So, the 45 plus 72, let me do fucking math in my head and shit like that. 117 rounds that they're going to fire. Everything that lands outside of the fucking tombstones is going to be subtracted one round at a time that lands outside of the tombstone. If it breaks the line of the tombstone, it counts. If the spidering of the fucking round rips the fucking paper and just tears a tiny little cunt hair of that tombstone's outline, it fucking counts. If there are 0 rounds in a tombstone, subtract 9 or 7 if you're a nice guy, but subtract them shits. All right. If there are no rounds in a tombstone, subtract 9 motherfucking points, and that's it. Like, so let's say he's in a Charlie and shit like that. He fired 5 through 6 and stuff and got at least a round in every one of these and shit like that. They all count. All right. In Tombstone 6, you only see 2 fucking rounds. You can only count 2. So that's, 9 times fucking 4 is 36 plus 2 is 38. His score is now 38, right? And in freaking Tombstone 7s through 8 and shit like that, let's say freaking he fires rounds in all of these motherfuckers and freaking gets 2 into freaking Tombstone number, the 7th Tombstone in 7 through 8 and gets 0 in Tombstone 8. That is 9 plus 2. That is 11 subtracted from the total of 72 and shit like that. That gives you freaking what? 51. Am I right? 61. 61 freaking points and shit like that is what he gets at the end of that thing. So it's pretty simple. I fucking hate doing math in public because it makes me look stupid. Also, kind of drunk. All right. Anyway, once you get through all of that and you grade all of that, you add every fucking hit and shit like that to get a total score and shit like that out of 45 plus 72 out of 117. So I've already showed you freaking some of the shit about how you get zeroed and what a grouping should look like. And here we go, common errors. And these are things that you can fix by looking at your freaking gunner's position. You don't necessarily have to watch your gunner. You can just watch his fucking groups. Granted, the position safety officer should be watching the fucking gunner and shit like that to make sure he's not doing anything unsafe. But his A gunner should study this, and his team leader should study this so that he can freaking help his gunner get back onto fucking target by pretty much looking at what his shot groups look like. Poor sight alignment and shit like that. He's focusing on the wrong fucking thing. Or poor sight fucking picture and shit like that. He's freaking, not focusing on the front sight post. He's focusing on the freaking halo around the motherfucking post and shit like that. Or eyeballing the shit out of the fucking target. Bad sight picture. Incorrect sight alignment means that freaking maybe he's drifted his eye left or fucking right and shit like that and hasn't necessarily centered the front sight post into the freaking thing and made a blurry picture of the rear side aperture, a clear picture of the front side post, and then have a freaking blurry target behind it and shit. So if you align everything properly and stuff like that with good sight alignment, sight picture, and then you maintain a good freaking grip and body position behind your weapon and shit like that to absorb that recoil, you should have a pretty good freaking grouping in the right spot, especially freaking tripod mounted. On bipod mounted and shit like that, you're going to see a lot more freaking issues with this. All right, guy freaking shifting his position, the elbow freaking on the left-hand side on this one and shit like that fell out, right, making his shit go up and to the right. And this one, his fucking right elbow freaking shifted and stuff like that, causing him to freaking move his grouping to the left, because when you think about it, You have a weapon on a freaking tripod and shit like that. The fulcrum is forward of your position and shit where you control the weapon. That means where your body moves, the barrel moves opposite. Yeah. So when you lose stability on your right side, then your rounds are going to end up drifting to the right side as opposed to the opposite. Yeah. That's just fucking science. Yeah. All right. Moving on. So in the end of all of this and stuff like that, you should see freaking pretty good set of target shot groups on your fucking targets and shit like that. So sets freaking 5 through 6 and 7 through 9, they're supposed to mimic freaking situations where you need to apply this. So 5 through 6 eventually, or essentially freaking does this whole thing about deep targets, right? Where you freaking have to search a lot more than you have to freaking traverse and shit like that, right? So aiming down a fucking road that's slightly at a diagonal, or where you're off to the freaking side of the road and you have to walk your way freaking down that bitch to fucking engage an entire column of motherfuckers moving down it. All right. And 7 through 9 be looking like this, right? Initially freaking starting at fixed fire and shit like that, and then people moving off to the flanks and stuff. You know, these are from the Marine Corps Warfighting publication 3 TAC 15.1 Machine Guns and Machine Gun Gunnery, or 3 TAC 01 Charlie Machine Guns and Machine Gun Gunnery. All right. Friggin' these are basically showing you what fixed fire looks like, and then what it looks like when you have a frontal target, a flanking target, and an oblique target. So this is when your freaking frontal targets become your oblique targets and shit like that when you're looking at pastures 7 through 8. It gives you all that freaking ability to engage in multiple freaking situations. Isn't that cool? God damn. All right. And then after we're all done with the qualification for bipod and tripod, we'll move on to the multi-purpose range. It's fucking going to be great. I promise you. I fucking swear. It's going to be fucking great because you got all this freaking range and all these fucking merits to train, right? All right. I've explained already how this thing is fucking set up and shit. The people that you're going to need, or personnel that you're going to need, you're going to need a PSO for every freaking station. Probably need a freaking 1 to 2, PSO to freaking shooter ratio and stuff like that. So you're going to need, if you have 10 gunners on the line, you're going to need 5 position safety officers and shit like that to freaking, ensure everything's going on right and they're following the procedures and shit like that, and freaking grading them on their ability to freaking apply immediate action to their weapon systems if they encounter a stoppage or a malfunction, and then relay to the tower NCO or the freaking OIC or freaking whatever and shit like that this dude did it right and he rates an alibi, and you should just give him more fucking rounds and shit, which is why we always account for 10% error with our ammo allotment and shit, right? So freaking, if we rate freaking 60,000 rounds and shit like that for firing this entire range for 21 machine gunners, then we should have 66,000 rounds on hand to be able to afford to fucking dudes for not only alibis, but for freaking, like, if the weapon freaking has a catastrophic malfunction that wasn't the Marine's fault and shit like that, and he could start the entire course of fire again. Boom! I should breathe when I talk. That'd be cool. Anyway, all right, moving on. So when you do this, before you step into this, what you've done already is by zeroing your weapon and shit like that for this freaking target and then aiming in at 500 fucking meters, you fucked up your field zero. You fucked it up. All right? It's not a lie. You fucked it up. You did it. All right. So you have to do a new battle site zero or field zero with this range. All right. So at 500 meters, this is the preferred distance to use for the field zero. All right. Because it's far as fuck away. The maximum effective range on a point target for an M240 Bravo or an M240 Golf or any of an M240 freaking systems and shit like that is 800 meters using that peep sight, but that fucking puts that bitch way up in the air. All right. 600 meters is the freaking distance for grazing fire and shit like that. So you can reasonably expect a freaking pretty decent range for zeroing or field zeroing and shit like that would be about 500. All right. At what distance do you zero the rifles at? Well, typically you do your zero at 25 meters, and then you do a confirmation at 100 meters. When you're on the range, your first freaking set of targets is at 200 meters and shit like that for rifles. But this is a machine gun. It's a larger caliber fucking bullet and shit like that, and it's expected to have more kinetic energy behind it. So go ahead and use 500. Plus, it's a fucking machine gun, and you're firing a burst. So you don't have to be freaking like, you know, straight up laser accurate. You just got to be accurate enough. Boom. So here we go. For the 249, we're going to go ahead and skip that because it's obsolete. Actually, you know, I'm going to cover it. If you're using a 249 or a light machine gun and shit like that, you can reasonably expect that one click of elevation or windage, because they're both knobs that are attached to the roof sight, freaking will move the striker around 25 centimeters or a quarter of a meter. All right. So every time you have to move a fucking meter over and shit like that, or the freaking distance of half of a man laying down, or freaking, you know, twice the width of a man and shit like that, freaking, you got to move 4 clicks. Cool. And then you can make those refined adjustments and shit like that based off of that 25 centimeters at 500 meters, right? Or you can go 10 inches. The average width of a man's chest and shit like that is 19 inches. So when you think about it, if you freaking kind of like, you know, eyeball fuck the living shit out of it and everything like that, or using Ivan targets like you are out on the range, and you have double freaking Echo Ivan fucking targets sitting out there, double Echo or Ivan targets sitting out there that have an average width of fucking chest of about 19 inches, you can reasonably freaking look at that distance and kind of judge what distance you need to adjust based off of the target that is at range. Ain't that some shit? Oh, I missed him by the width of one of him. Or, oh, I missed the motherfucker by the width of 2 of one of the motherfuckers, but just one of the pair of motherfuckers. So I just need to move over freaking, you know, 40 inches. No big deal. I freaking make a click, and another click to move it over and shit like that to basically wing the bitch. And then maybe I might want to move over just 1 more or 2 more for a bolt adjustment and shit like that to hit the center of those double Echo targets. So that's cool. You can do the same thing for height adjustment, but you have to think about that in a 2-dimensional theater and shit like that when you're looking at it, because where those rounds impact and shit like that, you got to look at depth also. So thinking about how much the round is going to fall. So if it falls way far back behind and shit like that, you've got a serious fucking ranging problem. And you need to drop down and make a bolt adjustment of at least fucking 10 clicks and shit like that to come back down. But typically, elevation on a freaking on a M249 is not going to be that off because they have to dial that shit in the armory. So worry about windage more than anything. Boom. And here we get into the freaking 240s, right? So when we get into the 240s, we look at 500 meters, 1 full turn, moves the striker around 54 centimeters, or 21.25 inches and shit like that on the freaking ground. Here's where we get into fucking something cool. All right. I got to find my tool. Found it. All right. So this is where you're going to need this fucking thing. All right. The 240's front side adjustment tool and shit like that is kind of a cool fucking thing and stuff like that. And I like to play around with it and use it like a little pinwheel. And it's fun. All right. So there's multiple functions for this tool and shit like that. On the front end of this fucking tool and shit like that, on this little fucking T, all right, you've got 2 fucking lugs on here. You've got a fucking near lug and a far lug. The near lug is used for popping off the freaking safety bail on the front sight post. So you need to freaking stick this fucking thing underneath the freaking clip of the safety bail and then pop it off and shit like that, like it's a fucking bottle of beer. I'm going to start using this to open my beers. That'd be much cooler. So every bottle of beer from now on, make sure I'm using my front side adjustment tool. Anyway, so the near one, you pop off the freaking bail and shit like that, and you have 2 blades, right? 2 front side blades. You have freaking the type 1 and the type 2. So number 1 is about 9 millimeters in length, 9.11, and then freaking number 2 is about 11.20, some bullshit like that, fucking millimeters in length. It's pretty exact and shit like that, and the thread's pretty freaking, you know, exact too and shit like that. But the reason these exist and stuff like that is because of freaking barrel warping and shit like that, or because of freaking like wear on the sight itself and shit like that, having been hit so many times or ground down so many times and shit. And sometimes you need a longer freaking blade to facilitate your ability to freaking aim with those motherfuckers. So there it is, giving you a little bit more play with that front sight post / blade. Yeah. So you can identify which one you have by measuring it with, a ruler or whatever. But it's really not that fucking important and shit like that. But it is kind of important, but it's kind of important. Whatever you do, just flush that bitch out and shit like that. Freaking set your fucking rear sight at 500 meters and fucking fire your first burst and find out where the fuck you're at. And then start adjusting that motherfucker. When you do one full turn, one full spin, 360 degrees, all right, I highly recommend that you get a little fucking paint marker or some shit like that to freaking paint one side, one tip of that fucking blade and shit, a certain color, whether it be extra black or maybe make it white or red or orange or whatever the fuck you want to do and shit like that, to denote which side is your freaking, I guess 12 o'clock or 6 o'clock side or whatever the fuck it's at when it gets there. Because when it turns around, it can only do a half turn at a time or a full turn at a time, realistically. Yeah. Because it's interrupted threads and shit like that, and it's got a fucking area where it has to fucking lock. So there, I say fucking a lot, don't I? It has to be locked down by a safety bail. So it's formed up the way it is. It is. Anyway, so one full turn will move the striker around 54 centimeters. If you only have to move it 27 centimeters, or 10 and a half inches, then just move it that much. But, figure it out. As long as you're freaking knocking down the target, you cool. It's cool. It's cool, man. It's cool. All right. It's okay to impact low because you can reasonably expect that rounds that freaking impact low will ricochet off the ground and freaking go into your target, especially when they're 7.62 by 51. Yeah. So there it is for your elevation. For your windage, on the other hand. Oh, yeah. So there's a little slot on this fucking thing that allows you to control and twist your front sight. That little freaking T in there and shit like that. When you get all done with that, you're going to freaking take your little freaking T and you're going to just turn it around to the far lug. You're not going to lock it back in. You're just going to let it freaking float free. You're going to put the far lug into the little hole that's on the front of the front sight post and shit like that. And you're going to use this freaking arm right here to press down, click, until that freaking safety bail clicks into freaking place and shit like that every time you have to fire another burst. So that's it. And then it's locked in a freaking position. And you don't have to adjust the front sight anymore. When you're adjusting for windage, and it's not really windage so much as it is direction or azimuth on this one, because it is on the front sight post instead of the rear sight aperture. The rear sight aperture has no adjustments that you can make except for range. The front sight post, because it's fixed and you don't want to freaking make windage adjustments on the fucking fly with machine gun barrels and shit like that, this should be called direction. But it's called windage because it's left and right, and wind blows typically left and right or front and back. So whatever the fuck. All right. At 500 meters, one full turn moves the strike of the round 40 centimeters. Now, how do you fucking do this? Well, with the front side of the freaking M240 Bravo or the M240 Golf or any of the freaking 240 Limas or any other freaking variants of 240s and shit like that, all those left to right adjustments are done by a couple of Allen screws, and the right size Allen key is located right here on the edge of this fucking front side adjustment tool. Ain't that cool? It's neat. It's like they thought of everything when they freaking gave you the SL3 gear. Wow. Anyway, you have to loosen one side before you tighten another side. All right? And understand that you're moving the whole fucking sight. So if you need to go right, you need to freaking move this shit to the right with the front sight. Yeah. So whichever way you freaking go, one full turn, you should feel some clicks as you're turning these. Very small ones. So take your gloves off and let yourself feel those little clicks. All right. For every time you go, it should be like a little pie. All right. One click is 1/8 of the fucking turn and stuff like that. Right. But anyway, at 500 meters, 40 centimeters and shit. Right. Or 15 inches. Nearly about 4 inches short, maybe, of the width of a fucking man. So again, using the width of a man as your freaking measuring unit at 500 meters and shit, the target that's already out there that you're looking at when the rounds impact the ground, use that as your adjusting thing and just make a fucking bold adjustment. It's like, oh, it's about this many dudes away. I need to fucking turn that many fucking turns, right? That many turns. Do one full turn at a time, one 360 degree turn. So if I'm going to loosen, if I need to adjust right, I'm going to freaking loosen my right freaking screw 360 degrees. And then I'm going to tighten my left screw 360 degrees. Then loosen 360, tighten 360, loosen 360, tighten 360. And you're going to do that 4 fucking times. If it requires you to use ranger beads or putting rocks on the ground or drawing a fucking pen mark on your hand to do it because your attention span doesn't last that long, then do that. That's cool. Or use your gunners or your A gunners freaking fingers for it. Whatever. I don't care. But make these adjustments accurate and make them fucking quickly and shit like that so that you can get back to fucking firing and not spend all day on the goddamn range. That's it. At 500 meters, there's your freaking target, or there's your adjustment data. You're welcome. And here's your tool, front side adjustment tool. All right, getting back to it. Oh, yeah, this is bipod transition fire. So back to the bipod or tripod, transition fire prone or from a fighting position and shit like that, practice and qualification. Number 1 was that 0. So with 36 rounds for your 240 and shit like that, that is 4 bursts. You get 4 bursts to get this shit fucking right. All right, so fire first burst, make the adjustment of sights. Fire a second burst, refine that adjustment. Fire a third burst, confirm that adjustment. Fire a fourth burst and confirm that adjustment one more time. Should be good. That should be all it takes and stuff like that. If you have to keep making adjustments, guess what? You need to fucking raise your goddamn hand or foot and shit like that because everything else down this card has an asterisk, which means it indicates a qualification task. You need to get off the fucking line and get the shit that you need to perform the fucking task, which is another 36 motherfucking rounds from the 10% overage that we allotted for in the Admiral allotment. So there you go. The very next task and shit like that. All right, so you've done all of this at a range of 500 yards and shit like that with bursts of 7 to 9 fucking rounds. All right, now you're coming over to freaking task number 2, which is gradable. Within a time limit of 5 seconds with a belt of all of these fucking rounds, 154 rounds, right? Yeah, 154 rounds if it's a 249, but 198 rounds if it's a 240. So with a belt of 198 rounds, that means the rest of your ammo allotment for all of these tasks 2 through 8, you're going to put them all into a belt because you are expected at this point to be able to engage with some freaking trigger discipline and shit like that and use the motherfucker the way it's supposed to with the 7 to 9 round burst. Say a little freaking die, motherfucker die, but run, fuzzy bunny, run. So there you go. Bam. All right. So with that, you're going to be able to freaking engage all these targets. So beginning with a time limit of 5 seconds, engaging a target at 400 yards or 400 meters, right? With a burst of 5 to 9 rounds, you're going to engage that target. You have 2 chances. This is why you've been allotted 18 rounds for this fucking task and shit like that. So 7 to 9 round burst and shit like that, you get fucking 2 of those to hit this bitch. All right. Same thing goes for your next target, which is at 500 yards within a time limit of 10 seconds. With a time limit of 5 seconds, you're going to be able to engage a target 600 and then a target 800 within a time limit of 10 seconds. For each of these tasks, you only get 2 bursts to go. So your gunner, the shooter, only gets to fucking shoot 2 bursts. Now, he can fire a third one if he wants to waste rounds that he's going to have to use on a further target. But this is it. This is an entire transition shoot. So basically it goes like this. The tower NCO is going to have his little fucking timer and he's going to be witnessing this happen and shit like that. Freaking, he can either A, do this all at fucking once, or B, do this at individuals. But the way it's going to work for the transition shoot, or that should work from the transition shoot, is you should receive an initial fire command or a freaking ad rack and shit like that. Says freaking, I don't know, like section, they're like squad, and like freaking Direct front, enemy troops in the open, enemy troops in the open, range 400 to 800 meters, 400 to 800 meters, firing with, you're going to say, I guess firing at a 5 to 9 round burst and shit or a 7 to 9 round burst, firing 7 to 9 fucking round bursts, firing 7 to 9 round bursts, shit. Freaking, and it's either freaking, on my command or freaking action or whatever the fuck, or it's, you can do with like, when your targets appear, I guess. But on my command, fire, and then they don't fire yet until the fucking targets appear and shit like that, right? And the target NCO or fucking tower NCO fucking sets up the first fucking set of targets for 5 seconds. Pop. And then once that fucking set of targets fucking pops down, the 500 yards fucking pops. They got 10 seconds to adjust and fire. Then they got fucking 5 seconds to adjust and fire at 600 because it's kind of like the fucking same thing and shit like that. Go up 1 click and freaking fire again. And then, again at freaking 800 and shit like that, and then it fucking comes back down. And then you can give them another freaking ADRAC and shit like that, freaking, or they will have freaking 2 targets within their freaking sector of fire. So the next freaking thing, within 20 seconds of shit, they have to engage 2 sets of targets and shit. 1 at 500, 1 at 600 and shit like that with those freaking bursts. Fucking easy fucking day. Die, motherfucker, die. Right? And then they drop. And the next fucking target set, they have fucking double the amount of time because it's freaking hella far away now. At 700 and freaking 800 meters of fucking distance and shit like that, they're going to engage those freaking targets with the same amount of bursts. Freaking 2 bursts per, right? And then on the last one and shit like that, they're going to have freaking 3 targets pop up within their lane and shit like that, and they have to fucking hit them at 400, 500, and 600 and shit, and they'll be considerably closer. So they have a total of 25 seconds to get to them. So there is that. All right. So basically how this breaks down and shit like that is this entire freaking transition shoot that lasts, 2 minutes and 5 seconds. There you go. So it lasts a total of 2 minutes and 5 seconds and shit like that to fire the rest of the freaking transition shoot all the way through and stuff. And you get them all pretty much fucking done. The thing is, they have 2 bursts per target. So they may potentially have more freaking rounds to actually put down on those things. You want to make sure that you only have 1 gun at a time fire. So gun 1, you're firing. Gun 2, you're holding in each lane. And then reset fucking targets and shit like that. Freaking gun 2 gets ready and stuff like that. Gun 2, you're firing. Gun 1, you are freaking, switching gunners and shit like that and preparing your freaking shit, right? And then qualification is freaking done for guns 1, guns 2 and shit like that. You freaking flop over motherfuckers and shit like that, and you can get everybody through practice and then qualification for this transition shoot within a matter of maybe like 30 minutes or less. You can get it all done. Like, as long as they understand what the fuck they're supposed to do and shit like that and get it and know how to work this thing. And then you can put them on tripod and have them do it all over again. So within a matter of an hour, you can fucking train everybody. And it's good. All right. So there it is, that transition shoot. And then transition for limited visibility. You're going to freaking cycle everybody back around again, but you're also going to add optics onto it. So you can double all these freaking ammo allotments again, freaking from the 198 plus 36 and shit like that. That's I guess you can take out 36 for the other fucking one because they've already done a field 0 and shit like that. So for the 200 rounds per gunner and shit like that, 600 rounds per motherfucker times 21 and shit like that. Fucking, who cares, right? 30,000 rounders or whatever the fuck it takes for those dudes and shit. And then going to the transition fire, you take this freaking number and you double that also. You can have enough rounds to freaking push everybody through with bipod and tripod with limited visibility sights as well. So you're going to have them attached to PAS 13 and or 17 Charlie and shit like that to the freaking weapon system. Conduct a field 0 again. They can do it at 25 meters and shit like that to get the freaking grouping exercise and then freaking get a confirmation and shit like that again. But they're going to fully confirm at 500 with the sight. So task 1 and task 2 is freaking basically doing it for... You can do it with each site if you want to. I don't give a fuck. but there's an allotment of freaking of a total of freaking 24 rounds. So you can split it up 12 and 12 and shit like that for your 17 Charlie and your freaking Pass 13 Delta or Pass 13 freaking Golf that you're attaching to the weapon system and shit like that if you want to. But the ammo allotment provides, you know. But like, there you go. And then you're going to go into your freaking actual field zero and shit like that with these same sights, and you're going to freaking zero them again. So you already have a grouping exercise. You've got them dialed into the direction of fire that you want to get them in and shit like that as a relative distance, maintaining a freaking certain shot grouping and shit like that. And then you aim them out at 500 and stuff. Fire that first burst, adjust it onto fucking target at 500 and shit like that using that 500 meter freaking stadia on the reticle, and you will be accurate. Cool. You've got 36 rounds to do this, and you're firing with bursts, so don't fuck it up. That's a 9-round burst times 4. Yeah. All right. Everything else after that is gradable. So tasks 4 through 10 are all gradable. So again, with that freaking 7 to 9 round burst and shit like that, firing at a range of 200 meters, right? Within a time limit of 10 seconds, firing freaking 2 bursts and shit like that into your freaking targets that show up. And then 400, and then 100, and then 300, and then 2 and 400, then 1 and 300, then 1 and 200, and 400. And this is all within a time limit of 1 minute and 55 seconds. So there you go. You got 10 seconds off of that, but you have 1 task fewer anyway and shit like that. So it just makes fucking sense to me. I didn't sit here freaking getting pissy over the fucking math and shit like that. It shouldn't take you very long to fucking fire at a target that's less than 500 meters away. I mean, for fuck's sake, man. Plus, you're using a limited visibility sight. Now, how you can enhance this training and shit like that is by using thermal panels onto your freaking Ivan targets and shit like that to make them more visible. Or if you're using fucking 70 Charlies, you can use fucking chem lights or chem light juice or anything else that fucking glows on the bitch. All right. You might even freaking use spotlights and shit like that and reflective freaking materials and shit like that onto the fucking targets to make them more visible. Because, you know, it's not like the enemy is going to be freaking dressed in drab clothing and shit like that freaking camouflages them and maintains their freaking, you know, maintains their camouflage at nighttime. They're not going to be disrupting themselves with mud like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Predator or anything, or wearing mud-soaked and fucking cooled off motherfucking blankets and shit like that over their bodies and then popping out of motherfucking holes in the middle of the night and shit like that, minimizing their heat signature. They're not going to do that at all. They're going to do that. Yeah. So there you go. But for the training, do as much as you can to make the targets visible and shit like that so you dudes can execute. And then you have the scorecard. So with this scorecard, beep, notice that nuggets. All right, notice with the scorecard that table 1 at 10 meters, all right, it's all fucking marked NA through slots or through tasks 1 through 8. The only 2 that are gradable within a time limit of 40 seconds and then 50 seconds respectively is when they're engaging target sets 5 through 6 and then target sets 7 through 8. You're going to add the number of hits, how many rounds landed in the tombstones, or subtract the number of misses and shit like that from 117, which is the amount of rounds that they had, 45 plus 72. All right. And then go into the day transition shoot. None of the tasks here are graded because that's the fucking 0. But everything else here is graded for practice, just to let them know, hey, this is what you're looking at, dog. All right. And then table fucking 4. So table 2 day practice is table 2. Table 2 qualification is table 4. All right. So you know. All right. So they're going to apply those freaking fundamentals and do all the fucking cool things and shit like that and fucking hit all those fucking targets and shit like that within their time limits, right? Hit or miss. If they get a hit, you mark an X in this column. If they get a miss, you mark a O in this column. And then when it all fucking shakes out, you're going to take the total of hits and misses, right? You're going to multiply them during the transition shoot for table freaking 2 and table 4. Multiply them by 10. You can take their subtotal and just fucking put it right here in a blank block and it'll be fine. All right. But the total for their qualification, their table 4, the double asterisk, boom, total points. Take the number of hits, multiply by 10, and it goes in here. Total points. And then these are not multiplied. When you get to the limited visibility portion, table 3, this is all single numbers, all right? Every hit is 1. Cool? Every miss is a O. But it doesn't matter if they hit it on the first burst or the second burst. If they hit it within 2 bursts, it counts as an X, and it's a point. When they go into qualification table 5, or table 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, table 5, they freaking, you take those hits and you total them. So it'll be like out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Out of 11, that will be their fucking total. So you're going to take 11 plus whatever the fuck. Plus whatever the fuck and shit like that, right? So they've got how many opportunities here? Let's go ahead and look. So 2, 1. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 110 plus 11, right? Plus freaking, what did I say it was? 117. Fuck, math. Okay, I was right enough. So freaking out of a score of 238. Yeah, no shit. It's fucking wild, isn't it? So 72 freaking points for the table 1 freaking 10 meter qualification, plus freaking 110 points for the freaking table 2 day transition, and then 11 points freaking possible for the freaking limited visibility portion. You get a fucking total of 238. If they fucking make anywhere from 206 to 227, they're going to get all those motherfucking points and shit. All of them. So if you take that and you reduce it to like the 7-point margin and shit like that, that's probably where you get it, 227. Let me look at it. Okay, I get it. I see how they fucking did the math. They basically freaking did it with 8 rounds and shit like that, or whatever the fuck. All right, so you get like 226 rounds and shit like that freaking total if you got all the fucking bursts or full points for every fucking burst and shit with the freaking table 1 plus freaking table 2 transition day for 110 plus the 11 points and shit like that would give you 227 max points for expert and shit like that. But they can realistically make up to 238 points realistically, and a minimum of 206 points and shit like that to freaking make it. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot. So I'll show you what the scorecard looks like when it's filled out. So here's all the instructions for the scorecard. They're freaking on the back of the very same form. All right. So freaking that's DA form 85 Romeo, published October 2002. Boom. So if you're ever wondering and shit like that, that's where it is. All right. And you can find it in the same field model. This is what it's going to look like when it's filled out. So Private Davy Jones and up in the locker. All right. So he got 30 rounds out of 45 rounds and shit like that. Well, no, he fired a 249. Does it say which weapon he used? It doesn't. But he fired a 249. And I know this because he's a fucking loser. All right. So out of this, he freaking hit 30 rounds and shit like that. 5 times 5 is fucking 25 and shit like that. So with this, he actually did pretty fucking good. He got several hits out of the freaking 7 times 5 is 35. So he got a little bit over the half part, right? And then 57, 7 times freaking 8. Fuck, math, right? Well, who gives a shit? But he did good. All right, good job, kid. He got a total hit points of 82. Freaking, he hit all but 2 on the freaking practice, but he fucking buffed it out here on the qualification. He only missed 1, which dropped him 10 points and shit like that. Gave him 100 fucking points. Over here, he freaking dropped one of these motherfuckers and shit like that. I think that's improper scoring. Because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He should have gotten 10 total hits. Somebody fucked that up. So 10 plus 100, 110 plus 82 is fucking 192. 182 would be the minimum. However, he got 192 because whoever the fuck graded him doesn't know how to do fucking math. They fucking shorted him 1 point like a fucking asshole. So there you go. Who is this PSO? Who is grading this motherfucker? Lane 3. Who was the PSO from lane 3? Let's find out. Grader was Paul Davis. Paul Davis needs to do fucking math for Marines and shit like that. So thanks, John Smith, for really fucking, doing your due diligence and making sure that fucking Davy Jones gets what he fucking deserves and shit like that. Yeah. Good job, you fucking asshole. Maybe that's why this thing's not published anymore. Here's a more up-to-date scorecard of what this would look like. Same scorecard and shit like that. DA Form 85 TAC R. This one as published in August 2006, making the 2002 one obsolete. This one looks a lot more like your range cards from the rifle range. Notice. Wow. And it can probably fit through a Scantron. Wild guess. I mean, just throwing it out there. That's why it exists. All right. So instructions for the filling out the form are back here. The scores are back here. And all of that stuff is really fucking cool. So there you go. That's how it's done. Yeah. So yeah. I think that I've given you just about enough information to fucking successfully do all this shit. And cool. So if you need to run a machine gun range for yourself, or you need to freaking direct your Marines on how to fucking run a machine gun range, this will help you. You could just literally throw the fucking reference at them, tell them to fucking turn to chapter 4 and develop a range off of that. You're going to watch them do a fucking dry run and shit like that one day. Murder board their fucking shit and stuff like that. Look at their scheme of maneuver. Fucking make them write a fucking LOI or a 5-paragraph order on how they're fucking going to get it done and shit like that. As an infantry unit leader, you should be doing these fucking things and stuff like that to check your fucking Marines and make sure they're doing their fucking job right. They ought to know how to do it by the time they're a freaking squad leader or a section leader. But what you're doing is you're setting a precedent. You're setting a freaking precedent for how freaking training is conducted and stuff like that, and that it can't just be fly by the seat of your pants and just do whatever the fuck you want. You have to have a scheme of maneuver that's going to work. They need to assign their position safety officers, assign their freaking their target NCO or their freaking target operator fucking guy and shit like that. They need to make sure they freaking have an OIC and an RSO and shit like that already freaking prepared for this fucking thing and stuff, so they're not pulling away from the freaking force. That everybody within the section gets trained. Position safety officers are not exempt from training and shit like that. They will rotate in for training. So you will have to have another fucking relay and actually have your fucking dudes that are team leaders, PSO, or squad leaders at some point. It's going to have to happen. Oh, tequila. Oh, no more tequila. Brings a little tear to my eye. Oh, that's the cool thing about Addictivo. It comes with a fucking spare shot. Check this out. All I gotta do, break off this little fucking cappy cap. Oh! Boom! You got a whole another shot in here. Glug that bitch into there, motherfucker. So anyway. Yeah, baby. That exists. So, yeah, I'm just saying, if I was going to do it as a platoon sergeant, which I'm not right now, but I used to be. But if I was a weapons platoon sergeant and I wanted to set my machine gunners up for success on freaking running a range, I would give them this reference. I would guide them on how to fucking do it and shit like that. We would sit down and freaking do a little freaking, mind map, freaking brainstorming session and shit like that, and freaking make sure they were set up for success. And after they had done a dry run or a rock walk or something like that with me to show me how it would work, to make sure it made sense, we would go out to the range and we would execute live. And when we executed live, platoon commander's there, right? I'd be inviting the company commander and the company first sergeant to come and look, but stay the fuck back. Like, you can sit your ass back in your fucking high back and shit like that, or fucking roll up in your POVs, but don't bother my fucking dudes while they're doing their thing. Watch them do their thing and fucking see how it goes. And then with all the information, all the data gathered with these score sheets and shit like that, I can enter that, or have my team leaders and squad leaders enter that into the freaking training jackets of every single Marine within my section, my fucking platoon, whatever the fucking shit like that, my squad, or my squads within the section within my platoon. And this is quantifiable data to justify their meritorious promotions, justify awards and shit like that, meritorious masks for the best gunner in the freaking company and shit like that, or some shit like that, or maybe a NAM for winning maybe not a NAM, but at least a freaking SIRCOM or a meritorious mask for being the best gunner in the battalion and shit like that, or having the highest fucking score out of the entire battalion. Share this with others. Share it with everybody. Compete with one another. There used to be division competitions that were based off of this shit. They were based off of these freaking documents and shit like that included freaking gun drills that weren't subjective in any form. They were objective. They freaking graded you based off of criteria and efficiency and speed. All right. Who was the best that followed procedure, that did all the right fucking things, that freaking shot the highest and fucking did the best? Who was the most effective motherfucking machine gunners up in this motherfucker? Bring it back, man. If you guys are all fucking stuck on peacetime and shit like that and all sad that you're not killing people and stuff like that, go ahead and do this. Compete with one another. Become proficient in your freaking tasks and shit like that, and your lethality. Have something that's measurable and quantifiable to fucking justify for you the reason why you're doing what you're fucking doing every day and exercising those brilliance and the basics and shit like that. And you will find a purpose to continue doing it. And then someday, probably pretty soon, when the shit hits the fucking fan again and we got to go to war again and shit like that and cross the LD again, you'll be ready. And you'll have the skills, and you'll have the ability to train, and you'll have all of the commands freaking memorized. You'll be able to use brevity and efficiency and communication and shit like that, and you'll be able to do all these things fucking awesomely. So there it is. Don't sit there and fucking poo-poo about your fucking service and shit like that and be all sad that you didn't go to war. Do something with your time and maintain the force and shit like that. Have a reason to fucking continue doing this. This can help the fuck out of you. Bam. All right, so that being said, this has been an episode of Talking Guns, and I'm going to go ahead and freaking tell you some shit. All right, so if you go to my stupid ass Instagram page and shit like that, whether you go to Warbag0331 or you go to freaking the Talking Guns Instagram page, should be the same for both. Let me just confirm that real quick. Oh, son of a bitch. Motherfucker. Bitch. Yeah, same link tree for both and shit like that. You might see that I've added a new freaking thing onto it. All right. So from the bottom to the top, 03 OG freaking clothing. Get yourself some freaking apparel and shit like that. The dude's fucking cool as shit. 240s and shorties. War Pig apparel. Goons up. I'm wearing it right now. Fucking cool. Triple B Adventures. They freaking help prevent veteran suicide by taking these dudes out on freaking cool little freaking camping trips, excursions, out fishing, and what the fuck ever and shit like that. It's really fucking neat. They also couple with irreverent warriors and shit like that for those motivated silky hikes that you do out there and stuff like that. Veteran military and veterans crisis line. If you're feeling like you're gonna kill yourself, pretty much like I feel just about every day, and then I decide not to every day. You could call them if you need to. And then Talking Guns YouTube is on there on a fucking link as well. So if you need to freaking be redirected to this YouTube video and shit like that, you could find it right there and shit like that. And like and all my videos, and then subscribe to the page, and also turn on the notification bell. The very top of this motherfucker is the savethebrave.org. Savethebrave.org is I was turned on to this by Scott Husing, the guy who wrote freaking Echo and Ramadi, that book about freaking the Battle of Ramadi with Echo Company, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, the magnificent bastards out there fucking getting some, hooking and jabbing, shooting and a stabbing, killing bodies and eating babies all fucking day. It's a great fucking book, and if you want to hear a perspective of what it sounds like to be Marines in combat, this is the one. It took him years to compile all these stories, to call his friends for accuracy and shit like that, take notes, use his personal journals and stuff like that to put all of this together to write this amazing fucking book. All right. And as far as all accounts of what combat is and what combat leadership is, not just from an officer, from a Marine officer that's a Mustang, a dude that was enlisted, that fucking, no, straight up fucking had his dick in the dirt just like you did. This guy gets it. I fucking love him. And I was fortunate enough to be invited to the All Clear podcast again to do a joint interview with Scott Husing and stuff like that with my boys Andrew Nard and Joey Caldwell from the All Clear podcast. They make up Livo Team 5. So freaking check them out too. They're a good fucking time. And I like to promote things as much as I like to drink. I'm not sponsored by fucking anybody. Nobody gives me money for this shit. 100%. I don't give a fuck. Like, it's probably going to be the downfall, and why Talking Guns is probably going to fail because I'm not growing or getting any money for it or creating a fucking t-shirt line or selling fucking like generic motherfucking like dietary supplements and stuff like that I just slapped a label on, but they came from like India or some shit. But whatever. Fuck them. All right. I'm here for the same reason I was here before. One, to keep myself from fucking killing myself every fucking weekend. And then two, because I love spreading the fuck out of some knowledge and shit like that. And machine guns is what I love. All right. So I hope you've enjoyed this installment of Talking Guns. And while I finish this last fucking sip of tequila, I bid you adieu. Check this out. I can go back out to my freaking like screen and shit like that, fade out. And I can also, while the video is still on, I can fade to black.